How's it going, everybody? This is Alex Caceres, and you're listening to Story of the Fight.
What up, Will?
What up?
Another week has gone by, which means that another weekend of fights has gone down.
Yeah, some fun ones.
A lot to cover, man. A lot to cover. But hey, welcome everybody listening. This is Story of the Fight, podcast where we cover all things mixed martial arts. And, you know, we mainly cover UFC, but recently we've also been dipping our toes into ONE FC and Ryzen and all these other organizations, Will, that you've been watching for a long time, right?
Yeah, so we're going to be covering the UFC event that happened this weekend and also one on Prime 2. If you're not live with us and you are re-watching this, we'll have timestamps. So if you came for ONE FC, we're going to be covering that after we cover the UFC card. But if you're watching this after the fact, you could just skip right to it if you don't want to listen to the UFC. Or just watch the whole thing.
Yeah, that'd be better. That'd be better. Yeah. And if this is your first time logging on to the podcast here or watching us, and you even remotely like our content, please like, subscribe. Goes a long way. And if you don't like watching, but you like listening, I mean, you can find us anywhere podcasts are found. Literally, Story of the Fight on YouTube, Spotify, Breaker, Podcast Radio, Public, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Anchor FM, anywhere podcasts are found. And in social media.
Yeah, it's at Story of the Fight. Who would have thought? On Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, Twitch, everywhere.
Could we have made it any easier?
Yeah, it's just Story of the Fight everywhere.
All right, and I think soon a website, maybe.
And a website's coming.
Soon merch, maybe.
We're getting there.
A lot of maybes. A lot of maybes. All right, so last night we had – yeah, we got life. So we have UFC Fight Night Vegas. Was it 61?
61, yeah.
And we also had ONE FC on Prime. Dos, that's 2 in Spanish. But first we'll cover UFC Fight Night 61, Dern versus Xiaonan. Do you want to go and just jump right into it then, Will?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sweet. So we have Mackenzie Dern versus Xiaonan. Man, this was it pretty much went the way I thought it would, honestly.
Yeah.
I thought, though, ultimately that Dern might be able to sneak a little submission in at the end. Didn't go down that way. But Dern, very much a la Dern, comes out, wild swings, right? Closing her eyes sometimes and really ducking her head and throwing some swings. When she would catch Xiaonan, she would kind of catch her sometimes with the side of her fist because she's not really watching or looking at where she's punching sometimes.
Yeah.
Which a little bit wild exchanges. On the other end, you have Xiaonan, who has very crisp boxing, was able to keep Mackenzie Dern at bay. She had the nice little side kick to the thighs to try to kind of keep her away a little bit, which seemed to help out a lot.
Real quick, what's up, Keith? That's a new one, I think, in the chat.
Hopefully shout out Keith, man.
Hopefully you're having a good morning, if it's morning wherever you are, and enjoy the show.
Yeah, shout out to Keith, man. But so what did you think of this, Will? Because like I said, for me, this was classic Mackenzie Dern. What did you think of the fight?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, like you said. She's coming in wild, swinging. She's not really using her feet to get there to land the shots. So Xiaonan can kind of evade everything and land these short strikes and catch her coming in. Mackenzie Dern still, when she's, I mean, it's really just reckless throwing to get the clinch so she can either try to trip you. Usually trips, right? It's not like she's shooting. Mm-hmm. I mean, when she does shoot for takedowns, she rarely gets them. You know, she'll switch to a single leg and then just kind of hold the leg for a while and then give up on it. But when she does get her trips, I mean, she's obviously so dominant on the ground. I was surprised by Xiaonan's submission defense in this one. It was, I just don't know what Mackenzie Dern. she's so good on the ground, but she just can't quite get there enough. And that being said, she had 10 minutes of top control in this fight and couldn't get the submission. So
props to Xiaonan.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. I was surprised by her grappling defense in this one. I thought every time it goes to the ground with Mackenzie Dern, I'm like, all right, here we go. It's only a matter of time. And she was hunting submissions, but Xiaonan just did everything right. She's like right here. She's in the arm triangle. She grabs the leg to relieve the pressure, and she can't get that arm up, which is going to cause the choke worse. And then Mackenzie Dern going for that armbar late in the 5th round, couldn't quite get it. So I was impressed with Xiaonan's grappling defense.
Absolutely, man. And not just the grappling defense. And like you said, there was a couple times where Mackenzie Dern had the single leg, and she uses that to transition, to get somebody up against the fence and to transition into like a high clinch. And from the high clinch, she tries to get a triple a lot of the times or drag down, right?
Yeah, and shout out Keith. He's the guy from the One Watch Party. One equals amazing. Dude, I'll talk about that more when we get to the one card, but I was on the live watch party in Discord with ONE FC. This dude was sick. There was a couple other guys in there. It was just like the coolest, probably my favorite experience watching fights outside of being with Kevin watching Nate Diaz choke out Conor the first time. That was probably my favorite. It was so much fun. We'll talk about it when we get to the one card, but yeah, shout out Keith. That was a good time.
For sure, man.
Thanks for joining, man.
And the last thing I was going to say is like when she did have that high clinch, Xiaonan did a great job of getting that wizard and pushing down on Mackenzie Dern's head the entire time. So it made it very uncomfortable for Mackenzie Dern to be in that position, man.
Yeah, it shows, right? She's training with Team Alpha Male now. If you want grappling, that's a very good spot to be. Honestly, it would be kind of cool to see Mackenzie Dern end up there because she needs something. There's something missing with her entries, right? To the point where as she starts getting closer to that top, was she top 5 right now?
Top 5.
Number 5? Yeah, so
number 5. Xiaonan was 6.
Yeah, you're fighting girls at this level, like they're gonna be able to evade and see through the crazy overhands that you're trying to use to set up your takedowns. It's just not gonna work at this level. It's like something's missing there.
If she doesn't do something different, she will be top 5 or maybe from 5 to 10. She'll stay in that ranking, where she's going to be able to beat those that can't figure out a way to beat the one-trick pony, to keep her off. But, man, you start getting that 4, 3, 2, 1, the champion, you're going to get pieced up. And the thing, when your game plan to close the distance is wild shots, I'm going to eat some big shots myself, but I'm going to clinch and I'm going to try to win off of a submission. And it's not just when she's coming in. It's also when she's on her back. She's willing to eat some ground and pound to try to gain position for a submission. And, I mean, we saw it last night, man. It just didn't work. She ate some big shots. There was a heavy shot where she got wobbled, and it was very visible. And Xiaonan did a great job of not falling into a trap and saying, like, hey, she's wobbled. Let me blitz in. Because even when Mackenzie Dern's rocked, if you end up on the ground, you're in trouble.
Yeah, you're always in trouble. This was a draw, no? Should have been a draw.
I don't know, man.
I had it 2-2. 2-3. Mackenzie winning rounds 2 and 5. Round 5 was only Mackenzie Dern's round. Outside 47, of the last 7 seconds. I don't know. I'm not good at math. 47-47. Mike Bell had it 47-47. That's what I had. I mean, round 5 is 97 strikes to 15 and 4.5 minutes of top control. And
we go back to the what is a 10-8?
I mean, if that's not a 10-8, you're getting. I mean, top control for 4.5 minutes, and then a submission threat and 97 to 15 strikes. Come on!
Shout out George, man. George joining us saying Mackenzie Dern will always be the winner in my eyes and heart. Yeah. Shout out. Oh, we got Bruce Bobtrotter joining us as well. So before, I want to say a couple weeks before, Bruce Bobtrotter pointed out the fact that this card was a card that he was not excited for. He pointed out the main event was going to be Xiaonan versus Mackenzie Dern. Definitely not the best card that we've seen from the UFC as of late, but shout out to Bruce Bobtrotter nonetheless.
Yeah, he also says, I'm cool with Zuckerberg being the only guy allowed in there when the card sucks this hard. I love how Dan is like, Zuckerberg didn't rent out the whole Apex, and then cut to the event, and Zuckerberg sitting there front row with nobody else. It's like, yeah he did.
It's a little obvious, dude.
Perfect timing for ONE FC to have a big Amazon card when the UFC has a card like this. But
that's a perfect segue for later. We'll cover that later. Yes. Before the Dern versus Xiong fight, we had Brown versus Trinaldo. Trinaldo, I believe, is 43 years old.
He's 143 years old.
Looking like he is twice that age, man. Every time I see this dude, I feel like he just packed on another 5 years.
Yeah.
I don't know,
man.
That's
what happens when you're fighting into your 40s.
He's still doing the damn thing, though, man. Going out there against Brown.
Yeah, I mean, he this was an interesting one, and it's something that Mackenzie Dern might try to learn from, honestly, because Trinaldo has almost that Glover Teixeira style where it's, I'm going to land that lead outside leg kick to set up my overhand. If the overhand misses, I'm there for the takedown, and it works. It's such a simple style, but it works so well for some guys. Dan Henderson was the same thing. Trinaldo, like I said, Glover Teixeira became champ off of literally just that strategy. Just head down, outside leg kick, overhand, takedown. It flows together so well, and it's a good way to close the distance. But and it worked for Trinaldo in this one. This one also should have been a draw, but
this was a close fight for sure.
But refs are too scared to take points away in the UFC, so
it ends up being you're alluding to the first round, right, where it looks like Trinaldo has an easy takedown coming, and there's a big fence grab from Randy Brown to the
he
point
literally
where
just looked over and he's like, "I'll just grab that." It was so like, it wasn't like a reactionary like, "Whoa."
That was the loudest point of the night in the Apex, where everybody was like, "Hey!" From all over. It wasn't just Trinaldo's corner. There was a bunch of people that yelled out about the fence grab, and Keith Peterson was like, "Let go of the fence." And it's like, okay, dude. And the announcers were also very frustrated. I believe Anik was one that said, or you could take your testicles out and take a point from the fighters. Yeah. And I was like, wow.
And that's no nonsense, Keith Peterson.
He allowed some nonsense last night. Let's be real.
You're going to step to him like that, Anik? Man's no nonsense.
He allowed some nonsense. Let's be real. But outside of that, I think that Trinaldo, while he was able to close the distance, Brown also gave him a hard time with his length.
He's so good at using his range. Not everybody knows how to use the range, but Randy Brown really does. The long kicks, the jab, the straight punches that he throws. It's tough to get in on him. The issue that some people are going to have, with him is that it seems like he's content to sit there for the rest of the fight always, and that's fine because your job in there is just to win. But it ends up not really having the most exciting performances, and that might hurt him in the UFC's eyes.
For sure. Shout out Keith again. He says, "Here we go, Whiskey Pete." Dude, I'll never forget. And I love it when we have Dom Cruz that's announcing, and then we also have Keith Peterson that's reffing, because I just always feel like there's probably some like awkward,
there's some tension. Dude,
yeah, some tension.
Dominic Cruz gave him props in one of the fights. We'll talk about it, but he gave him props for not stopping a fight too early. He was like, "Yeah, props to the ref, the ref for letting it go."
Dude, well, you know my disdain for Dominic Cruz, but the last times that he's been announcing, he's been doing a really, really good job.
He was pretty good last night.
As a pompous asshole anymore. Like he's listening, he's playing really well off of Felder and Anik now. He's not telling them, "Well, I disagree, you're wrong." And
is it the first time it's been that crew? Anik, Felder, and Dominic Cruz?
No, it's been a while though.
Huh.
Because we usually have Bisping in the mix, right?
Bisping or Fitzgerald. Rarely do you see Anik with those guys. But
yeah. All right. Ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah, Keith said that he mentioned the Bellator card. I watched how this is my luck with Bellator. Anytime I try to watch Bellator, something lame happens. I only tuned in just in time to watch the Pico fight. And then Yeah, and then the Pico fight happened the way it happened. He like broke his collarbone. Did you see that, by the way?
No.
So Pico breaks his collarbone. They think his shoulder's dislocated. The round ends. He walks back to his corner. He's like, "Hey, my shoulder's dislocated." And they're like, "Okay, cool. Let's pop it back in." And they're just yanking that thing like they're trying to start
His
like
collarbone's just like sticking up every
lawnmower.
time or what?
It's like, and the doctor comes in. He's like, "Not a dislocation." And they're just like, "Oh." It's like, dude, you're just yanking on that guy's broken collarbone. It must have hurt so bad. Cannot even imagine. And then they're like, "Can you raise their arm? Can you raise your arm?" And he's like, "Nope." Oh, it was dislocated. Keith comes in and says it was dislocated. So maybe it was the right move. But whatever. The doctor at the time said it was a broken collarbone. Maybe they have bad doctors over there. But they tell him to lift his arm over his head and he can't. So they call the fight. And then Josh Thompson's like, they shouldn't have called that fight. Let him go out of it. Let him go. His arm is like dangling.
Just swinging with one arm. You got to do what you got to do, I guess. All right.
Keith said that at the hospital, they said it was dislocated.
Okay.
Great job by the ringside physician. What's up with these doctors that they get?
I don't know, man, but I've kind of liked them recently.
They're like, how many fingers am I holding up while not covering the good eye?
Yeah. They're just covering the bad eye.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Or when the eye is like completely shut and they open the eye and they're like, follow my finger. And then they just let go of the eye and it just closes again, So
yeah.
Awesome, doctor. All right. We'll move on to Yusuff versus Shainis.
Yeah, I'll keep my it's a quick one. I'll keep my disdain for Sodiq Yusuff out of this one.
Yeah. With Yusuff, we have Shainis coming in. They start trading blows, man, like right away.
Well, if you're Sodiq Yusuff, I mean, he's supposed to be fighting Giga Chikadze, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he's training for an absolute killer, one of the best strikers in the UFC, right? And Chikadze pulls out. They get Don Shainis in. Don Shainis, definitely not, and I mean this with no disrespect, but definitely not UFC ready. His second to last fight? No, so 3 fights ago he fought Jay Ellis, famous Jay Ellis with the 16 and 104 record. He's lost 104 times. So he fought him 3 fights ago, and now he's in the UFC. Tough go. So if you're Sodiq Yusuff and you're getting paired up with a guy like that, you have to make a statement. Like he said, it's low reward, high risk, right? If you lose to this guy, it's like, whoa, Sodiq Yusuff just got beat by a guy who right now at least shouldn't be fighting a guy at that caliber.
Or if it goes all 3 rounds even.
Yeah, exactly. If you couldn't starch him, then it's like, whoa, what are we doing here? And Sodiq Yusuff came out and starched him. Did exactly what he needed to do. Because that's tough, man. That happens sometimes where Khabib ends up fighting Al Quenta and it goes longer than most people thought. And everyone's like, is Khabib not really that good? It's like, okay. Like sometimes it just pans out like that. But that could have been this type of a situation. But Sodiq Yusuff instead said, I'm going to grab you and tear you apart with knees.
Yeah, that Muay Thai clinch, man. And the knees. And finally, we had a Shainis that was just like, you know what? I need to do something here outside of just getting kneed in the forehead. And so he goes for the double leg.
He starts ripping for the body at first. It's like, that's not going to beat knees.
And leaves himself open for a quick guillotine choke.
Yeah.
And that was it. And he tapped right before he went out. And he was so close to being out that when Yusuff let go, the ref called it. Shainis didn't know the fight was over. And he kept on trying to gain position.
Great job by who's reffing this one?
Oh, that's a great question.
Jacob Montalvo. Great job by him by keeping them separate, right? Because he was in his guard continuing to fight. Luckily, he wasn't trying to throw blows or anything. But great job by the ref in this one.
Awesome, man. And like I said, that was a quick fight, so not much to say on this one here. All right, you ready to go on to the next one?
What are we doing?
And we'll be skipping some fights, right? Because we're going to be covering both UFC and ONE FC. So I think the next one that you had said we are going to cover was Castañeda versus Santos.
Yes, that was a very good fight. Castañeda was a pretty heavy favorite in this one.
Serious mustache.
Serious mustache, serious combos, serious power in that first round. He looked so good. He was catching with that left straight over and over, the high kick, the left high kick. was really just beating him up, just cracking him. And Santos was doing just enough to stay conscious. Like he was getting dropped, he was wobbled, and he was just doing just enough. And eventually Castañeda punched himself out. He gassed.
Yep. And the one thing I did like about Castañeda in that first round too was that he seemed to have Santos in a tight guillotine choke that first round. And some fighters, when they have a good choke in, they're like, maybe if I just squeeze a little bit tighter and hold on a little bit longer, I'll get the finish. Castañeda recognized early, like, hey, I don't think this is going to put him out. So he used the guillotine to get into a better position and to get up, right, and release. So
fun grappling exchanges in this one.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime Castañeda had Santos hurt, he would go down to try to get the finish, but then Santos was so active off his back, and he really couldn't get a dominant position to like land those final ground and pound shots to put him out. Just wasn't accepting it, and then you could tell at the end of the first, Castañeda was like, "Okay, let's be on the back foot here for a bit," and then it was like maybe he'll get a second win and finish him in a second. No. Yeah, Santos came out and continued with that pressure, and Castañeda was tired, man, and he got fouled, so he got a little bit of time. Probably should have taken some more time. Kind of just
took a minute.
Took a minute and was like, "Let's go."
Maybe should have taken 5. They give him 5 minutes.
Can you imagine though? You take the whole 5 minutes, and everyone's like, "Dude, come on."
Yeah, but I mean that probably for Castañeda would have been better.
Yeah.
Than what ended up happening, because the second round was all Santos, man.
How about this? If you look at the stats, round 1, 40-19 in favor of Castañeda with the knockdown. Round 2, 50-17 reversed with the knockdown for Santos. Just completely the opposite fight. And eventually, Castañeda kind of reserved himself to being on his back foot against the cage and trying to use his head movement to roll with shots or slip shots. But Santos just kept throwing, and you can only slip so many. And eventually he caught him with that clinch because he was stationary, and that knee to the head that ended up dropping him was so loud. It was crazy. Like it sounded like sometimes a shot is landed, especially it's the Apex now, and there's nobody, even less people than normal at the Apex. That knee was so loud, and you could see it was over. It was done.
Yeah, so are you talking about the knee when he was standing up and he caught him with the knee as he was standing up?
Yeah.
And I continue
No, not that one. On the finish.
Oh, okay. Fighters need to continue focusing on being fighters and let refs ref. Because there's this one where he's standing up and perfect timing from Santos gets him with the knee, and it wobbles him, and he turns and looks at the ref and like lifts up his hands, and as he's turning, Santos comes in with a nice little right hook. And it's like, dude, just continue fighting.
Yeah.
If the ref sees it, they'll stop it. They'll do something, or if it's Keith Peterson, maybe we won't do anything. Yeah. But that just, you got to focus on defending yourself while you're in there. That's it.
Yeah. Or how about we just allow knees to ground at opponents?
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Last fight we're covering in UFC. You want to go to the last one?
Yeah, and there'll be a couple honorable mentions because we're at 23 minutes right now. We just don't want to go too long covering 2 cards, but yeah, we'll move to Chelsea Chandler versus Stoliarenko.
Yeah, so Stoliarenko, she's the one that, again, I always mention this, fainted, right, when she was trying to cut weight. This is how I know her, I think, the most.
Yes, I believe she was the one that at the weigh-in, yeah.
Like stood up on the scale and just like slowly went back, and yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Shout out Keith saying, I'm seeing that a lot. Drop the fighter arms and then get cracked.
Keith. And it's not just that, but the other thing, Keith, is the eye pokes as well, where the ref won't see an eye poke. The fighter will complain about an eye poke. They show a slow motion replay, and it ends up being a fight or a punch. I mean, that grazes the eye, which is completely legal. And then the ref's like, wait, actually, let's keep on going. But it should have never been stopped. You stop the momentum at that point. So stop being refs. Focus on defending yourself. Be a fighter. Move on.
Yeah. How about the best example is Bisping versus Anderson Silva, where he looks over, points at his mouthpiece on the ground, and then just eats a flying knee that drops him at the bell.
Yeah. Oh, dude, true.
Yeah.
Hey,
Shout out HLB Comer. What is up, sexy bitches? It's been a while.
It has been a while. Always nice to have him on, man. Just so you know, HLB Comer, Will has been crying in the fetal position every night because you haven't been hopping on, man. So
yeah, man.
but now that you're on, it's tough. It's tough. All right. So Stoliarenko, though, it's tough because we talked about Mackenzie Dern only having trips, Stoliarenko going for double leg takedowns. But when you go for a double leg takedown and you land on your knees and the other person's still standing, not off balance, it's very easy for them to now just push you back.
Yeah.
And you end up on your back and they end up in mounts.
Yeah.
It's tough. And she did that twice.
Yeah. Well, she caught Chandler early with that. And I was super high on Chandler coming into this one. Just because,
Oh, you stalked him.
Yeah, how can you not be, right? Her Tapology pictures, she's wearing a Represent sweatshirt, like Cesar Gracie, like it's just I'm automatically gonna be a fan at that point. And she comes in and just gets hit with that blasting double leg early. It came so easy for Stoliarenko, and I was like, oh no, not like this. I think in the Pix League, I was the only one that picked her, and I was like, damn, I'm gonna look like an idiot. And then Stoliarenko does what she does. Very good top game, very good at passing, and immediately goes for the armbar. She always goes for the armbar so fast. And Chandler was like, this is my bread and butter here. I'm just going to turn into this armbar. Now I'm on top. And then from that moment, it was all Chandler. After she attempted that armbar, that was the end of Stoliarenko's night because they got back up.
Difference in power.
Dude, she's landing that 3-2. She's opening with the 3, the lead hook, and throwing the 2 down the middle. And it was every single time. Either the hook would land or it would miss, but the 2 landed every single time. And every time it landed, Stoliarenko would get frozen for a second. And she just kept throwing that. Stoliarenko went for the classic head and arm throw that happens all the time. And Chandler just shrugged it off and just threw her on the floor. And then she puts her hands up like, what's up? And then
she's a great purple belt, bro. She let everybody know, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And then, just beat her up. Fantastic debut for Chandler in this one. This was her, sixth fight? Fifth fight?
This was her 6th fight. She's 5-1 now. So she's still got a lot to learn, still coming up in the game, right? But props to Chandler. I've seen a lot of memes saying, hey, you're tricking nobody, Nate Diaz. We see it you. You know, because she's doing the pose, you know what I mean? And her her little grin and scowl. It's awesome, man.
Yeah, I love it.
It's awesome. 209 has somebody else to follow. And shout out to Dom Cruz as well during this because he's usually really good with finding words. But he made me laugh really hard on this one because he's like, got to be careful with Stoliarenko, with her jiu-jitsu, and she's an armbar person. And I was like, definitely an armbar person. You are right. It was awesome. All right. So that's all we're covering for UFC. So we'll go into what's up?
Well, do you want to do moment of silence and bonuses and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's what I was going to go into. We're going to go into moment of silence. So take it away. We'll go moment of silence, then the monies that was earned last night.
Yeah, so moment of silence. There's a lot of canceled fights on this. Chandler was originally supposed to fight Leah Letson. Ronson was originally supposed to fight Vince Pichel. The Ronson fight was fantastic. We'll do like honorable mention real quick and just run through the other decent fights on this card that we won't spend too much time covering. Cheyenne Baez or Velismus, she's Velismus now, was supposed to fight Tabitha Ricci. Cody Garbrandt was supposed to be on this card fighting Hana Yaya. Would have been a fun card,
For sure.
Yeah. Rosenstruck versus Dawkins, that got rescheduled. Mike Davis was originally supposed to fight Uros Medic, which would have been fun too. And Penne versus Ricci, meh. But Maxine Grishin versus Philippe Lins, that was supposed to be on the card up until the day of. They canceled the day of. But
dang.
So
I think that if most of these fights would have stayed on, Bruce Bobtrotter would have approved.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Next, we're covering bonuses, monies.
Yeah, so Castañeda and Santos got fight of the night, so they get 50 grand each. Joaquim Silva got a performance bonus for his awesome flying knee against Ronson. That was so cool. That was actually a very interesting fight. I don't know if you caught that one. Definitely want to go back and check out. Brendan Allen got 50 grand for stopping the snooze fest that is a Krzysztof Jotko top control fight. Chandler got 50 grand, And shout out the boy Guido Canetti for his like 30-second rear naked choke. Comes out there at 40 years old or whatever the hell he is, and comes and just blows the top off of it. Open the card with a 30-second rear naked choke. It's fantastic. So shout out to Guido Canetti.
Shout out. All right. So now we're doing something a little different. We've covered some of the top fights in the UFC. You want to go over an honorable mention real quick, though?
Yeah, honorable mention. The Mike Davis versus Borshov fight was actually very fun. Borshov just needed some takedown defense, but he cracked him a couple times. Mike Davis just did what he had to do. Shout out Ilya Latifi. He's probably retired after last night. Maybe Olenek should as well. And the Joaquim Silva-Ronson fight was very cool because he switched it to southpaw, and it was a completely different fight and started landing flying knees, and it was cool.
Sweet. All right. The moment that you've been waiting for, Will, your entire podcasting career. We will cover both UFC and ONE FC today. So you ready to cover ONE FC?
Yeah, one on Prime 2.
All right. So we'll start off with the main event of Lee versus Jingnan.
The third time.
The trilogy, yes.
The
rubber match.
The rubber match. Yeah.
All right, man.
So off the top, I got the invite for the watch party from ONE FC. Shout out Keith was in there. There's some other guys in there that was super, super cool. And it's just everybody's in Discord and just watching the fights and chatting and stuff. Everybody was super respectful. No one was talking shit about any fighters. No one's being dumb. Just probably the most wholesome MMA experience I've ever been a part of. It was super
awesome,
cool.
Man.
Yeah. And shout out to ONE for doing stuff like that. I think, dude, ONE FC is they're on fire right now. Everything they're doing, they can't miss. Even fights that got pulled off this card, the card was still incredible. But the fact that they put these fights on YouTube when it's not the Prime card, they had an event Thursday morning for us that was free on YouTube live. This is on Amazon Prime, so if you have Prime, it's just free for you in North America. But they also post all their fights on YouTube in the background. They they're on their social media is very good. They're doing stuff with Discord. Like the UFC probably doesn't even know what Discord is. You know what I mean? Like they're doing the things that they need to do to gain a fan base, and it's super cool to see.
Yes. So now I'm sorry, I'm just reading some of the comments. Hilarious. All right, so we'll start off with Lee versus Jingnan. These girls start trading early, man. Lee in the beginning doing such a good job with her head movement, and then she gets clocked by Zhang.
She stayed in too long. You know, like
stayed in too long.
Yeah, and she got cracked.
And the head movement stopped.
She was
just coming forward at that point, just swinging. Not as wild as Mackenzie Dern, because you could tell that Angela Lee has a lot better striking. So she's coming in and she catches Zhang a couple times herself. But for me, I love how Jingnan never threw anything by itself. Everything
always combos.
Was a combo. A 2-punch combo, 3-hit combo followed up by a leg kick. It's just so many combinations that were nonstop and could be overwhelming for somebody. And there's a few times where it seemed overwhelming for Angela Lee.
Yeah.
And then you see the second round comes out. Okay, so you want to cover the first round real quick?
Yeah, so she cracks her. I think it was a right hand that cracked her, drops her. And I mean, she had her on skates. She was cracking her from once she landed that first one that dropped her in the first round. She just kept landing, and I don't know how the hell Angela Lee survived that round, to be honest, because she got dropped, I think, 3 times in the first round. I have to rewatch it, but yeah, heavy shots from Zhang, and Angela Lee was just trying to land body kicks, and she was throwing similar striking to Chandler, except using it to close the distance more, where she'd leap in with that lead hook and try to throw the straight. And that's what she was doing to try to close the distance. But every time in that first round, because she was rocked, Zhang was just catching her and hurting her bad. And I was like, man, they're going to stop this fight because she's getting cracked. And
when she fell on her ass, man, and she's just like looks up at Zhang.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, here we go, man. And she lands one solid shot while she's down there.
Yeah.
And dude, the heart displayed by Angela Lee during the entire fight was something to admire, man. It was amazing.
Yeah, this fight kind of reminded. I said it in the Discord too, but this fight reminded me of Gray Maynard versus Frankie Edgar 2, where the first round is like, how the hell did they just survive that? And then it ends up going all 5 with realistically rounds 2 through 5. Angela Lee was kind of the aggressor, even though she just got the crap beaten out of her in the first round. She was the one pushing the action. She was still getting caught, but she was the one pushing the action throughout the rest of the fight. And this was. I mean, ONE FC, the scoring's different, right? It's not. You don't do it round by round. It's not a 10-point must system. So it was going to be pretty hard to overcome the damage that Xiong landed in that first round. But man, she's tried. She kept coming forward for the entire fight, and I was so impressed with that.
Yeah, man. In the second round, Angela Lee started doing something a little bit more, and that was clinching up against the fence. So when you have somebody as explosive as Xiong, and somebody that's looking to counter a lot like Xiong was, why not just put her up against the fence, clinch as much as you can? Because when she was in there, she was landing some knees. She switched over to Muay Thai grip and started kneeing her. She threatened with that Darce and kneed Xiong. I don't know how many times in a row.
Those knees on the fence were crazy. I was like, oh my God. And Xiong just ate them.
For breakfast, man. Or dinner, whatever time it was over there. But then, and when she would break away from the clinch, she was able to sneak a couple of elbows in too. And so I was like, this is awesome, and do this for the next 4 rounds. And I know it's a lot easier said than done, right? Because Xiong also had some improved movement from the 3rd round to the 5th round. But I thought there were still some opportunities to be able to clinch a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, because Xiong really started timing her entries well, especially later in the fight, where she was just getting cracked every time she would try to leap in like that. But yeah, I mean, it was a close fight. It was honestly, all said and done, HLB Comer says I got so lost. Who won, white or black? Xiong was in black. She won. She got the nod. Going into the decision, I was like, man, I'm kind of leaning Xiong winning this fight because you don't score it round by round. It's not a 10-point must system. All this stuff is different.
Damage.
And I was like, man, most likely Xiong, but I would not be surprised if ONE FC. I know. Come on, how great is that? How great is that?
You know your boy over here loves dramatic pictures, Will. Look at this one.
Dude, how about I mean, it's fantastic. Anytime they get the belt and they do the gold confetti, it's so sick. Their production is so top notch, man. How about the walkouts too, with the lights and the fireworks and shit? And you're just like, damn, this is the main event. This is sick. Because the walkouts all night felt like main event, like they were getting the attention of a main event. And then this fight came out
that I want to cover a little bit later. But, and maybe if you know what, I'll type in the private chat here for Rich to look something up to maybe have a video up of this fighter's walkout. See if we can find it. But what else did you have on this fight, Will?
No, I mean, that's pretty much it. Angela Lee is a little upset. She's talking about how she thought she won, which I thought was. I thought you could argue that. I think. I agree that Xiong won the fight, but I would not be surprised if the judges gave it to Angela Lee. Even Chatri said that he thought Angela Lee won the fight. But
it's crazy, man, because she's the one that I thought she was out. You know who else thought that they were probably gonna have to stop the fight?
Yeah,
Herb Dean.
Herb Dean, man.
I don't know if you saw this. He was right over her, and his arms went like this, ready to wave it off. And he goes,
"That's like the signature move, man."
And he steps back. But even so Mindy's watching the fight with me last night. She's watching this one. She's like, oh my God, these girls are going at it. And I was like, yeah, this is an amazing fight. And she goes, oh, Herb's about to stop it. Because she's used to seeing the Herb Dean shuffle too. And sure enough, he went up and he was about to and stopped. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And when you're that close to having the fight stopped, and then at the end of round 5, you're about to be stopped in round 1. At the end of round 5, you're the one that's screaming and yelling and telling the other fighter, come on, let's go. Oh my goosies. All over my arms, man. It was amazing.
I got goosies right now.
It's awesome. It's awesome. How about that? All right. Ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah. And
this was this the first ever grappling title?
This was their inaugural. Yeah, grappling championship.
Yeah, so we had Musumeci versus Sousa.
Yeah, Musumeci,
not Sousa, because he's Brazilian. Sousa.
Yeah.
Do you hear the difference?
Yeah. but Darth Rigatoni, man, he's just so much fun to watch. They started. So the rules, right? So it's 10 minutes. Submissions. Obviously, you're trying to get a submission. 10-minute round. 10-minute round. If there is no submission, whoever is more active or who has more legitimate attempts at submissions gets the win. So it's not like you're going to win if you get a takedown and you pass guard and then you just sit in half guard the whole time. Like that's not gonna. It's not about passing. It's not about points. Get the finish, and if you don't get it, who was closest, how many times? And Darth Rigatoni, man, immediately it starts immediately. He just goes to his back, and you're like, let's go
right away.
Yeah, and just and
hey, and Cleber Sousa, props to him, man, because instead of like standing in the middle and like telling him like come towards me, which he did like once or twice, but he could have done that a lot more during the 10 minutes. He continued trying to pass over and over again.
He's doing cartwheel passes and shit, and Mikey's just, man, he's tying up legs, going for leg locks. There was one moment where he went for an arm bar. I think I might get this wrong. I need to rewatch it, but I think he went for an arm bar. Sousa defended. He switched to the leg, and then when he tried to defend his leg, he crawled up his back, and it's like, oh my god, just crazy passing. There was one time where he was on his back. And he rolled forward and he was like, okay, cool, I'll just grab this leg and attack the leg submission. And I mean, he was on his back, but Sousa was completely relegated to defense for pretty much the entire 10 minutes. It was so fun to watch.
The leg dexterity from Mikey, because whether it was the cartwheel pass or anything that Sousa was trying to do, Mikey was able to get a leg somewhere in between Sousa to put Sousa in a position to feel threatened with something. Yeah. It was such a crazy chess match, man. Yeah, and I love that one is doing this.
Dude, it's
a nice change of pace.
Yeah. And it's like, I think the rule set is good. Really only scoring submission attempts really forces you to go for things. Because it's like, I don't want to go for the submission because if I don't get it, I'll lose the position. Nah. That's how you get points. You need to go for it. So it kind of forces the action there. So much fun.
And look at this shot, man. No gold confetti, but still to be the first to win the inaugural belt for this grappling match. And I never thought I'd say this, Will, but I'm excited to see the next title defense for a jiu-jitsu match in the middle of an MMA card.
Yeah. I mean, it's so much fun, the fact that they mix it up like that. And how about his call out? He calls out Demetrius Johnson.
Why not?
And he's like, I don't want this to be a disrespectful call out. I just think it would be an honor to share the mat with him. It's like, let's do it.
Why not?
Yeah.
Let's do all right, man.
Let's do it.
Let's you want to move on to the next one?
Shout out Keith also says the weird thing is Mikey's good on his feet as well. Yeah, he's been training Muay Thai for a long time. I don't think he'll ever. I'd be surprised if he ever like transitions to do it, but maybe he's young. He
seems
right?
like a very interesting cat, man. I don't know, but he said he's been a jiu-jitsu practitioner since the age of 4. He's been doing jiu-jitsu since the age of 4.
I'm older than him.
When it finally hits you, you're getting old.
2 months younger than me.
Damn, dude.
But he's got time.
And Keith says, I love the way one mixes martial arts.
Oh yeah, man, it makes a world of a difference. And why not? MMA is great. Don't get me wrong. That's like why we have this whole thing. But why not throw a Muay Thai fight in? Why not throw kickboxing and grappling? Like it just breaks up the action a little bit. Not breaks up the action, but it mixes it up, keeps you on your toes. It's just fun.
For sure, man. All right. We can move on to Radzuan versus Stamp Fairtex.
The people's main event. Remember the first thing I ever showed you from 1FC, I was like, you got to see this. Please watch this. I'm going to force it. And then I showed you Stamp Fairtex and you were like, all right, that's pretty sick. I think that was the first time. Man. Yeah. I mean, she has the potential to transcend the sport 100%.
Now, when we were talking earlier about walkouts, I think Rich found a video of one of the walkouts here.
Woman, to say the least.
You know, Stamp's an amazing fighter, but she also knows how to sell herself. And this little Stamp dance, it's kind of become the phenomenon of Stamp, you know? So she's able to get it done inside the ring and outside the ring.
This is a big
Dude, so she
it's a
has
little
straight
choppy,
up
but
choreographed dances before she comes out. And at first you're like, all right, well, like, what's going on? But then she comes into the octagon and she's an absolute killer, man. And yes, the circle. And she backs it up.
Dude, that's the thing. Like, I forgot which fight it was. Maybe it was I think it was this one. She she was like, yeah, she's just a dancer, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay. And then you watch the fight. And I mean, everybody knows if you're fighting Stamp, you gotta take her down, right? You gotta push the action, get her down. But then when she fought Ritu in the Grand Prix, she got her with the armbar, and everyone's like, "Oh shit, she's learning." And in this one, she was just constantly defending the takedown. And even when she got taken down, she was able to hold it where you're not really scoring points. And especially in ONE FC with their rules, like you cannot sit on takedowns. Like that's not going to score you points. Even if you eventually get the takedown, if you don't do anything with it, it's not going to work. But man, in that third round, when she catches her with that lead elbow, that step-in elbow, I think she was throwing the left hook a lot. So she got the reaction. Yeah, she got the reaction on the elbow, and she like stuttered and then throws it. So she comes up to block, and then she's like, "Oh, it's not coming," and then the elbow just slips right in, and just completely drops her. It was such a nasty elbow.
And this was right after she dropped her here, and right away you just see blood flowing from Radzuan's mouth, right from that elbow.
Yeah.
In the first round, Radzuan did a really good job pressuring and threatening the takedown. And it was a hard-fought first round for Stamp, man. You
definitely.
know, and I haven't watched Stamp for too long, but the thing I continue hearing from everybody is just the evolution of Stamp. From, being a Muay Thai monster to now looking like a legit MMA fighter.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is the end of the first round, and the announcers are like, "Look at Stamp. She looks exhausted. It's hard to keep somebody off of you." And then she pauses as she's walking to her corner and starts dancing. And the crowd starts cheering. And they're like, "Yeah, I guess she's not too tired." It's just awesome, man.
Very cool.
No, it was such a fun fight to watch. Any fight where Stamp Fairtex is up, just let me know. I'll be watching 100% of the time.
Same thing. When she attacked this leg, I was like, dude, is Stamp going to get another submission here? Like, this is crazy. And
there was hyperextension.
Dude, it looked bad.
It looked bad.
Yeah, it was bending backwards a little bit. Props to Radzuan for not tapping to that, because that did not look comfortable.
She might be regretting it this morning. Maybe.
Yeah, she might be feeling that one.
It looked pretty bad.
Yeah, and then Stamp dances at the end. She gets the win. And
as Keith says, she starts twerking in there, and it's just. But you see
it's different when you back it.
Valerie Lareda.
Oh yeah.
On Bellator, and she starts twerking. It's like, all right, calm down.
Yeah.
But this one just seems like all in fun. Like it doesn't seem like she's trying to like sell her OnlyFans page or to get more viewers on Instagram. It just looks like she's having a good time and wanting to make everybody laugh. At least that's the impression. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a video too.
Like a soy boy now. Watch.
I know. Yeah, Ramiro the Stimp. But there's a video after the fact. I think it's on her Instagram where they're at like an after party or something, and she's like dancing with Mikey. It's so funny, dude.
Oh, that's so sick.
It's just all big smiles, just like kind of dancing. It's so funny.
That's awesome.
But yeah, Keith calls out she's going to be fighting Anissa, who fought on the lead card of this one event, and that's going to be a very, very fun fight. Stamp versus Anissa is going to be so technical. It's going to be a fun fight.
By the way, Radzuan, Shadowcat, sick nickname.
I know. So good.
So sick. All right. Yeah. Freymanov versus Nguyen before that fight.
So, yeah, Nguyen is one of the poster boys for ONE FC, right? He's been there for a while now. He's one of the guys that gets a lot of promotion from them. Freymanov, I believe this was his ONE FC debut.
His debut?
Yeah.
And what a scary debut it was.
I had never seen him fight before, but I will never miss him again. This guy is so talented to do this. I mean, obviously wins, like he's got losses, right? He's 14-6 now, but to beat him like that, he's landing everything: the outside leg kick, the body kicks, the jabs, the knees. I mean, he looked like he was in a completely different level. This was a very good showing.
Yeah, and Martin Nguyen looked tough, man.
He's good.
But Freymanov had some lightning fast kicks, man. And he noticed that Nguyen was dipping down a little bit when he just like kind of like what you see here. Yeah, dipping down for the body shots. And then even when he was throwing a right hook, he dipped down a little bit because it looked like he was trying to close the distance. So Freymanov with a really quick adjustment was like, dude, I'll just meet you in the middle with a knee.
Yeah.
Real quick. And then a bunch of yeah. And then earlier we said you alluded to the need grounded opponents, kneeing the grounded opponents, right? Game changer, man.
It's a game changer.
In every fight. Every fight. You know,
Angela Lee got caught with the knee on the ground a couple times, but it makes any exchange so much more high stakes. If you get hurt or you're dropped to a knee on a shot or something like that and they're getting out of it, you got to move. You got to get out of there. It makes everything so much more intense.
And we saw this a few times in the UFC, where like you'll have somebody's trying to take somebody's back. And in order to make it harder, they just like hunch down, bend over, and put their hands on the mat. And it becomes kind of like a chess match from there where they're like, okay, what's the next move? And there's a stall. You can't do that. And you saw the urgency in every one of the ONE FC fights. As soon as they were on the ground and as soon as one knee landed, it was just urgency to get up, man, because you don't want to eat any more of those. Yeah. Or you need like Martin Nguyen here, and it's the beginning of the end for you.
Yeah.
He falls back to the cage. Freymanov comes in and just kills him, man. Absolutely just finishes him there. But Freymanov looked very impressive, man.
Yeah. I'm not – they had the boss, Olivier Coste, as the ref here. I get that they brought Herb Dean in, especially for the prime cards, right? To make it seem probably more legitimate to like American audiences and things like that. But he shouldn't be in the main events. They have the boss. He's one of the best refs in the game right now. I thought this was such a good stoppage. I don't know if you noticed it, but he didn't stop it on a shot in this one. He stopped it off the reaction from Nguyen, where he ate a knee against the fence, and he's starting to get back up. And then as Freymanov kind of loads up for one, he kind of dodges and goes down, and he's like, no. He's like, you're not fighting back. This is not. And it was perfect stoppage. That's the type of stoppage that's very hard to pull off in like live action, in real time. Yep. He needs to be reffing more over there. But yeah, Freymanov, I will watch every fight from his moving forward. Super impressed. Super
impressive, man. And again, like you said, that was his debut. He had called the first round KO going in. Oh, God. Mystic Max style, dude.
Yeah.
It was awesome. All right.
Speaking of last fight we're
going to be covering is Nastyukhin versus Amir.
Damn. That's 3 in a row now for Nastyukhin. He's my boy, too. He's the guy that, remember when Eddie Alvarez went to ONE FC and everyone's like, oh, man, he's going to be their champ right away. And Nastyukhin's like,
nah.
Yeah. He's like, dude. He is terrifying. If in this position, if your back is against the cage, he is absolutely terrifying. He just
so much power.
Hooks. Yeah, he's so explosive. Maybe get that right hand up when you're throwing the hook like this, but I mean, he's so dangerous. It's so much fun to watch, win or lose. And Amir, this is a tough guy to debut against. In a new organization on Amazon Prime, it's a big deal. You come in here to fight a guy who's in ONE FC's top 5 rankings, and your back's against the fence in the first round. And he's throwing these wild hooks at you. A lot of people crumble in that situation, even if they don't get hit.
For sure.
But
Amir did a great job with the leg kicks, man. The inside leg kick was working for him the entire fight. The thing that I liked about Nastyukhin too is the way that he threw combos right before he went for his takedowns.
Yeah,
powerful right hook, left hook, and then actually sets him up. Not what we saw in the UFC main event, right? But dude, same thing with Amir landing a big shot. And okay, whenever somebody gets hit with something nasty, you see the fight or flight in the person right away.
Yeah.
And with Nastyukhin, he gets hit, and you see his jaw clench up because he's biting down on the mouthpiece, and he starts throwing big shots at Halil Amir as he's coming in. He caught Amir with the left as he's walking in, and you saw him take a little step back, but he knew it was his opportunity to finish, man.
Yeah.
And he comes in with, and I think it was this one too where Nastyukhin gets hit with a knee, right, while he's down also.
Yep.
Which was a pretty nasty finish. But, dude, Nastyukhin, man, you could tell that boy is game because his initial reaction was like, dude, I'm rocked. I got to try to rock you back.
Well, this is how rocked he was, too, to be able to do that is the final exchange when the final exchange wasn't actually him getting knocked down for the stoppage. He gets up and throws an overhand right so hard that he does the splits because his legs aren't there.
Yeah.
And then he does the splits and he's trying to get up from him throwing so hard without his legs. And he eats a couple shots and that's when eventually gets stopped. But I mean, again, Herb Dean letting him be a warrior. I mean, look at that.
Perfect knee right on the jaw.
Yeah. That should be ONE FC's like poster image. It just sucks that it's That's my boy.
Oh man. All right. Well, that's all the fights that we're gonna cover as well from ONE FC.
Yeah, we just decided to do 5 and 5, right? Because we're at an hour now. That's actually perfect. Ended up being perfect.
It is perfect.
Yeah.
But before we do anything else, I did want to give some shout outs. Bruce Bobtrotter for joining us as well, even on the card that he said was not going to be good. And Bruce Bobtrotter, you weren't way off, Bruce Bobtrotter. But either way, appreciate you hopping on. George, Keith, with a lot of good insight today. Really appreciate it as well, Keith. HOB Comer saying your boy is back.
Yeah.
And coming back as well. So I always appreciate you, HOB Comer. But it's always so much fun whenever we get people joining us live. We really appreciate it. I mean, do you have anything else that you want to cover?
The lead card was very good on this one event. You should definitely go back and watch that, especially the Murat Grigorian fight. That fight and the Anissa fight you should check out. Super fun. Outside of that, Superbon, moment of silence. Superbon pulled off of this one. Well, first he was supposed to fight Alizov. Alizov pulled out, so they bring up Ozkin, and it's like, cool, Superbon's still gonna fight, and then that fight fell through. Or Superbon, I think, didn't get medically cleared, so they rescheduled. It was like, damn, it was a big hit to this main card, but it still ended up being pretty damn good. In the lead card in the thank you for reminding me, Keith, in the Ryogo Takahashi fight, 2 yellow cards in that fight. So yeah, interesting card. It was fun to watch. Also shout out to Taewon Chai, fought on the other ONE FC card. Got a belt. Very fun fight in that one too. Next week there's no fights. So
no Ryzen, no nothing.
There's a Cage Warriors event.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know how deep we're gonna go into this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's. I think we're as deep as we're gonna go. But we'll do something next weekend. We just gotta figure out.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, maybe we need to test the copyright strikes if we can. We got the okay from ONE FC to show fights on stream, the actual fight itself on the screen. We just have to figure out if we get pulled from YouTube or not doing that. So we might do a test. Maybe that's what we do. Maybe we watch a ONE FC fight live.
Yeah, watch a ONE FC fight live. Maybe we try to reach out to a few fighters and see if there's an interview we can land. I mean, there's a few different options, right? We'll see what we could do.
We'll do something.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, if this is your first time tuning in, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Goes a long way. If you don't like watching, but you like listening, Spotify, Breaker, Podcast Radio, Public, Google Podcast app, Apple Podcasts, Anchor FM, anywhere podcasts are found. And you can also find us on social media with Will.
Yeah, it's at Story the Fight on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, Twitch, Vero. It's everywhere. Story the Fight everywhere.
Vero. I keep on forgetting about Vero. But yeah, again, Story the Fight everywhere. If you can't find us, not trying hard enough.
Yeah. So Keith says, thanks, guys. On to the next one. HLB Comer says, or a UFC 280 predictions video. Maybe that's what we do. HLB Comer. It's good to have you back.
That's what I'm saying. 280 predictions video. I'm down with that as well because it's going to be an excellent card. And that's all I got for this week. Do you have anything else?
No, that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, you, everybody, for joining us for another week of Story of the Fight.